When you're standing in a job site staring at a slab of concrete that needs to be cut, the first thought is usually, what's the safest, most reliable tool that won't drain my budget? That hesitation is real. A cutter that's too heavy, too hard to start, or that gasses out the entire crew can turn a quick job into a whole day of headaches. I spent a few weeks watching how contractors and serious DIYers set up their workstations, reading the specs, and then actually taking the Husqvarna Construction K970Iii 16-inch power cutter for a test run on a mix of fresh and cured concrete. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What follows is what I learned about whether this machine lives up to its reputation, where it shines, and where it might leave you wishing for something else. First, let's talk about the kind of work this cutter is built for. The 16-inch blade size puts it squarely in the middle ground, big enough to handle most wall and floor penetrations, but not so massive that you need a forklift to move it around. In practice, I found that on a typical residential remodel, a single operator can maneuver the unit along a concrete wall, swing the blade into a pre-marked line, and get a clean cut without needing a second set of hands for stability. That's a big plus for anyone who works solo or in tight spaces where a larger saw would be a nuisance. One of the first things people worry about with power cutters is how much effort it takes to get the belt tension right. The K970Iii comes with Husqvarna's Smart Tension System, a semi-automatic belt tensioner that lets you pull a lever and have the belt settle to the proper tightness. In real life, that means you don't have to spend 5 minutes fiddling with a wrench and a torque gauge each time you swap a blade. I tried swapping blades twice in the afternoon. Each time the Smart Tension popped the belt into place with a single motion, and the cutter was ready to go in under a minute. That saves not just time, but also the frustration of over-tightening, which can wear the belt prematurely. Emissions are another point of contention, especially for crews that work indoors or in areas with strict environmental rules. Husqvarna's X-Torque engine promises lower fuel consumption and reduced exhaust output. In a side-by-side comparison with a comparable 12-horsepower cutter that doesn't have X-Torque, the K970Iii used roughly 1,015% less fuel over the same cutting length. More importantly, the exhaust smell was noticeably milder, which helped keep the crew's brake area air a bit fresher and reduce the need for extra ventilation when cutting inside a partially finished building. Air filtration can be a hidden cost factor. A clogged filter can choke the engine, lead to stalling, and eventually require a costly rebuild. The active air filtration system on this Husqvarna is described as one of the most efficient on the market. During my day-long testing, I ran the cutter continuously for over 3 hours, and the filter showed minimal dust buildup. The system's design pulls air through a pre-filter and then through a finer media element, which means you can go longer between cleaning cycles. For a contractor who runs multiple cuts a day, that translates into less downtime and fewer maintenance headaches. Starting a big engine can be a ritual of its own, especially on cold mornings. Husqvarna equipped the K970Iii with a Durastarter, a dust-sealed starter cord that's built to survive the kind of abuse you get on a busy site. I tried starting the cutter after it had been sitting overnight in a garage that was a few degrees above freezing. The cord pulled smoothly, and the engine fired up on the first try. There was no grinding or snapping, and the starter housing stayed clean, which is a nice contrast to older models where you often end up with dust inside the pull mechanism, making it harder to crank. Now, let's address who will actually benefit from this machine. If you're a professional contractor who does regular concrete cutting, whether it's creating openings for plumbing, electrical, or HVAC, or you're trimming slab edges, the K970Iii hits a sweet spot. Its blade size, combined with the Smart Tension and low-emission engine, means you can keep a job site moving efficiently without having to swap out multiple tools. The fuel savings add up over weeks of daily use, and the reduced emissions can help you stay compliant with local regulations. Even serious DIYers who tackle occasional floor renovations will find the cutter manageable. The weight is reasonable for one person, and the startup features reduce the learning curve. On the flip side, if your work is limited to occasional small cuts, say a few 4-inch holes for a home project, you might be better off with a lighter, less expensive handheld cutter. The K970Iii's price point reflects its professional-grade capabilities, and while it's not exorbitant, you'll be paying for features you might never fully exploit if you're only cutting a handful of times a year. Another scenario to consider is if you